This week's parasha, Parashat Korah, we have the rebellion of Korah against Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron HaKohen. And the parasha starts off right after we closed last week's parasha with the mitzvah of tzitzit. And Chazal, the Midrashim, come along and they doresh the smichut. They speak about this juxtaposition. Why is the mitzvah of tzitzit right before Korach's rebellion? And they say part of Korach's argument against Moshe Rabbeinu was a symbolic argument regarding the mitzvah of tzitzit and the Tekhelet string. Because Chazal say that Korach came to Moshe Rabbeinu to try to question, why is Moshe Rabbeinu, why do we need one leader? Why do we need him, Aaron? Why do we need leaders? We're all holy. So he says, do we really need to have the string of tzitzit with the Tekhelet, that one string? He says, what happens if I have a talit shekulo Tekhelet? What happens if my beged, if my clothing, the garment is 100% Tekhelet? He goes to Moshe, if it's 100% Tekhelet, do I still need that string at the end of Tekhelet? Or is it enough that my tzitzit is, or my talit itself, the garment itself is Tekhelet? That should be enough. And Moshe tells him, no, you still have to have that one string. And symbolically, this is a discussion about leadership. Do we need to have a leader? Can we all be holy? We mentioned in the previous years in the Devar Torah that Aaron HaKohen, the Kohen Gadol, he wears the me'il. The me'il itself is a garment that's kulo techelet. So we have this concept that we all want to be Kohanim Gedolim. We all want to have these garments. Why do we need that one tzitzit? Why do we need symbolically something leading us, sticking out on the side? Let us all be on this level of holiness. So says Rabbi Zucker in his last year's Ma'amar in the Rebbe's table, he says a beautiful idea. He says, so what is this question? What is he really asking him? What can the talit be Tekhelet? So he says, let's talk about a talit in general. Let's talk about clothing in general. When man was first created, Adam and Chava, before the sin of the Etz Hadat, they walked around naked. There was no mitzvah, or there was no world hanhaga. There was no this idea of covering up your erva. The nakedness wasn't seen as something shameful. Why? So he explains, because there wasn't a Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara only gets ingested after the Etz Hadat. So without Yetzer Hara, without desire, without ta'ava, man was beautiful as he was, and he can walk around naked. But only after they sinned do their eyes open up, and then they realized that they were naked. They realized now that they had a Yetzer Hara. They realized now that there was shame. So now they have this need to cover themselves up. So the clothing protects us. It covers up the erva. It covers up, so to speak, symbolically, the Yetzer Hara and the desire. It's a protection level, so we don't give into our physical self, our self in its most naked, animalistic way. We have ourselves the clothing to protect ourselves. But then he asks, okay, so good. So that's why we have a talit. But says Rav Zucker, but then why do we need tzitzit then? Okay, we have a garment covering us. What's the concept of these fringes, these extra things that stick out from the side? Why do we need that too? So he explains based on the Maharal. The Maharal discusses, a famous Maharal discussing the numbers. We know that 7 symbolizes nature, Sheva, with the 7 days of the week, 7 days of creation, the 7 cycles up until the Shemitah. 7 is Teva, 7 is nature. But 8, Shmone is lamala mina teva. Shmone is known to be above and beyond this world, above and beyond nature, something higher up, something spiritual. We spoke a lot in Chanukah Torah that Shmone, 8 is like shemen, oil that floats to the top. Water is the world, 70% of the world. The 7 is the water, 8 is the oil. It goes above and beyond. It's the Shmone, it's going above and beyond nature. Says the Maharal, 8 symbolizes above nature. 8 is a symbol for Yomot HaMashiach. As Chazal tell us on Tehillim, there's a Tehillim that says, Lamanatseach ala sheminit. They would sing this song on the 8-stringed harp. What's the 8-stringed harp? Say Chazal, the 8-stringed harp is the harp of Mashiach. So 8 is the symbol of Mashiach, the Messianic era. So we attach the strings. We have these 4 strings on each corner that get doubled over. So we have ourselves the 8 strings. The 8 strings symbolize Olam Haba, symbolize Yemot HaMashiach. It's supposed to give us a little bit of a hope, a little bit of a glimpse, a tikvah, that ultimately we're going to get somewhere greater than this physical world that we live in right now. So while Olam Hazeh is all about the physical, it's the nakedness now, it's the Yetzer Hara. So what's the first level? The first level is we cover it with a beged. We put a talit on top, and that's our first level protection against the Yetzer Hara. But ultimately, we have this question: are we always going to live in this world of Yetzer Hara, of difficulty, of tests, of ta'avot, of problems and issues, and just of shame? Is that the world we're going to be stuck in? So we add these 8 strings onto our beged at the corner that they fringe out to the outside to tell us, no, eventually one day there will be a Yemot Mashiach. There will be the level of the 8. We'll be able to be in a world beyond the Yetzer Hara, go back to the way it was before the Chet of the Etz Hadat. And that's also why one of the strings is that of the Tekhelet, because the Tekhelet also is reminding us that we can rise above this world. We can go from the water up into the Shamayim, up into the Kisei HaKavod. Again, we're going to rise above Shmone, Lemala Min HaTeva. That Tekhelet string is taking us, reminding ourselves that we can get ourselves all the way back to Yemot HaMashiach. Now, the language of tzitzit comes from the word of mitzitz, to peer. We say in Shir Hashirim, mitzitz min hacharakim. Hashem peers at us through the cracks, through the lattice work, a little bit of a glimpse that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us. Even in the galut, even when we're out there, we're so far away, HaKadosh Baruch Hu still is mitzitz. Hashem still gives a little bit of a look at us. Our tzitzit comes from that exact same world, that same word. That the tzitzit is this concept that we're going to peek through this world. We're going to try to experience a little bit of a glimpse, get a tiny little peering into the world of Mashiach. We look at our tzitzit, we look at those 8 strings and remind ourselves, yes, we're in Olam Hazeh right now, but we want to get a little bit of a taste. We want to take ourselves all the way up to the Shamayim. We want to rise above the water, up into the heavens. That's the concept of the 8 threads. That's the concept of the Tekhelet string. That's the concept of the Yemot HaMashiach, where mitzitz, we get a tiny glimpse into Olam Haba. But comes along Korah, and Korah says, wait a second, why do I only want a glimpse? Let's make the whole beged one of Tekhelet. Why do we have to fight our Yetzer Hara and live in a world of Yetzer Hara? Let's make the whole world the world of Tekhelet, a world where there's no more struggles, the world of the Messianic era. Korach wanted to live, and that we're all equal, we're all Kedushim, we're all in that circle surrounding HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We want to be Kulo Tekhelet. We no longer, as you mentioned in the past from the Ridzina Rebbe, we no longer want those square garments that require tzitzit. Let's be ourselves in a circle and be equidistant to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the times of Yemot HaMashiach. Says Rav Zucker, quoting a famous Arizal, the Hasidim love this Arizal. We know Korach himself messed up big time at major rebellion, but everybody saw in him that he had these glimpses of Yemot HaMashiach. He had these glimpses of Kedusha. He was holding on a level of Kedusha that the world wasn't holding on. So says the Ari HaKadosh, we take the pasuk in Tehillim, Tzadik katamar yifrach, that Tzadik, eventually the righteous, is going to flourish. He's going to flourish like the tamar, like the dates. Tzadik katamar yifrach. This are Safet Tevot, Tzadik, last letter Kuf, Katamar, last letter Reish, Yifrach, last letter Chet, spells out Korach. So Korach is hinted to in the concept of Tzadik Katamar Yifrach. So most Chassidim learn, we see from here that he had certain levels of righteousness to him, although he made a very big mess up. Right? Yitzchak Isaac Sher says the mess up was in his hearing, was in his thought process originally, but beyond the scope of this of our Torah, but we see this concept that Korach connects to this concept of a tzaddik. But says Rav Zucker beautifully, where do you find the word Korach? In Tzadik Katamar Yifrach, you find it by the Sofei Tevot. We find it by the last letters. Why? Because that's what he was trying to be. He was always trying to be in the Sof. He was trying to be in the Acharit HaYamim. He was trying to be in the end of days. He saw himself in Yemot HaMashiach, and therefore he wanted the whole beged to be Tekhelet, because he wants to live at the very end. But in truth, this was a big mistake. This was a grave error, because our goal is not to escape this world right now. We have to deal with the struggles of this world. We have to deal with the challenges. And the idea is that as we deal with those challenges, we have our regular beged on ourselves, but then we have the tzitzit on the corner just to have that mitzitz. We have those 8 strings with that one Tekhelet string. We have a little peer, a little glimpse into Mashiach. And that's our avodah. Avodah is to struggle and fight the Yetzer Hara down below, but to always realize that eventually we will be zocheh. But we're not there yet. But B'ezrat Hashem, we're going to get there. Shabbat Shalom.